This last week in Mayapur, कितने लोग हमारे साथ मायापुर आए थे? How was the experience? You're already looking a little surcharged. Faces that I'm looking at a little different than what I used to see before going to Mayapur. For those who couldn't come, we welcome you for Vrindavan. We are going in the first week of November to Vrindavan, 4th to 11th November. We've already booked our tickets. This is an expectation that you will come. This is an estimate. So if you want to give your names at the earliest or give your confirmations, please reach out to Abhishek Pro. We always have limited capacity to accommodate people in rooms as well as in trains. Because मैं पीयूष गोयल नहीं हूँ पहली बात तो वही है ना इंडियन रेलवेज का रेलवेज मिनिस्टर वही है ना नहीं अश्विनी ओ हाँ अभी इतना देखा मैंने उसको उड़ीसा का जो एक्सीडेंट हुआ है अश्विनी इज द So I don't own IRCTC, so I cannot get tickets at the last moment. And guest houses in Vrindavan are like jam packed during the month of Diwali. We also have booked the current stay facility 1 year back. So when we are going in November, we booked it in like December or Jan, 11, 12 months in advance. We block the rooms, expecting कि okay fine इतने लोग आएंगे. So of course it's first come first serve basis, but then those who really want to join in the end, uh, it happens that you struggle with a place in the train or you struggle with a place to sleep in the room. That's the thing. Of course, Vrindavan is not so far as much as Mayapur was. Mayapur was quite far, okay, almost close to 1.5 day, 2 day of traveling, more because of the delay of the train. Otherwise, not so much. But yeah, Vrindavan is like an overnight journey. Sit in the night and morning you're there. So not so far, 15, 16 hours. And Vrindavan we all travel by train. There is no option of flight. There is an option of flight, but we don't really take that. So it's always a train. So you can confirm your seats if you really wish to come to Vrindavan. So today I am starting with the chapter number 8 of the Bhagavad Gita. Do you know anything? Can we do a quick recap of the previous chapter? What do you remember from the previous chapter, chapter number 7? If anybody knows anything, please raise your hands and answer. Yeah, yes. Okay, he's a taste of water. What else? What else, Krishna? Hmm? He said that the more you come closer to me, the more I'll come. Acha, okay. You also talked about the four kind of people who comes to Krishna. Yeah. What else? Anybody else? What does he first? Basically, seventh chapter starts from where? Where does the seventh chapter start from? कहाँ से शुरू होता है seventh chapter? Why are we reading the seventh chapter? Huh? It's still echoing actually. Can you reduce the volume, bro? Why are we reading the seventh chapter? Absolute knowledge. That is the title of the chapter in English. Okay, what else? So absolute knowledge about whom? About Krishna. How can Krishna is saying, how can you know about me? Huh? By? By? By doing bhakti. Okay, by? No, by? He says, Tat Shanu. He says, by hearing. When you hear about me, you will develop faith for me. Okay, when you keep hearing about me, you will develop faith for me, and that's how you will get to know me more. And slowly and gradually, you will develop devotion, love towards me. So that's why the first thing that we hear in the beginning few verses of the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna talking about hearing, hear about me. You know, अक्सर हम किसी के बारे में सुनते हैं, जैसे हम किसी से मिलते हैं ना, we say that हाँ आपके बारे में बहुत सुना है हमने, you know, we have heard many things about you, बहुत सुना है हमने आपके बारे में. So we develop automatically a faith, you develop a belief in his work, in his ideas, in his way of functioning, because you've heard about him. Similarly, Krishna is saying that you hear about me, you hear more and more about me, and that's how you will develop more and more faith and devotion to me. Then what? Then, as he mentioned, Krishna is saying that I'm the taste amongst water. What else is he saying? He's saying many things. You know, I'm the strength of the prowess. Sorry? I'm the fragrance of the flowers. I'm the strength of the. I'm the prowess of the one who's the most powerful. And there are different. I'm the taste of water. I'm the intelligence of the intelligent. You know. So that means Krishna is everywhere. He's saying that I'm everywhere. So after hearing about me, you'll find me also everywhere. You know, it's very easy to. It's very difficult to actually ignore me because you'll find me everywhere. I'm there in everything. If you are thirsty, if you have water on a thirsty, when thirst to quench your thirst, if you have water and the taste of water, I'm that. Every day we fall thirsty. Every couple of hours we fall thirsty. You know, you try to study, you try to use your intelligence. We do that also quite often. Okay. Uh, we try to study, we try to work in our jobs, we apply our intelligence, you know. So that applying of intelligence, Krishna is saying, I am their intelligence. Uh, we try to smell things, you know. We try to smell a flower or a perfume. That Krishna is saying, he's not talking about perfume, but he's talking about the flower and the fragrance in the flower. We try to be powerful, whether physically powerful or financially powerful. Saying, I'm the one who is the prowess among the ones who is the most powerful. Then what else does Krishna say? Hmm? Yeah, there are. So then Arjuna is saying, अगर आप सभी जगह पे हो, then why people don't surrender to you? Why? If you are there everywhere, if people know you, then people should surrender to you, right? They should come and bow down in front of you and become your devotee. But then Krishna explains there are four kinds of people who don't surrender to me, and there are four kinds of people who surrender to me. That's why there was a very important section. I think so. Narottam Prabhu put that. But very important section where Krishna says that what kind of people are there who don't surrender to me, and what are those who surrender to me. Chaturvita bhajante mam jana shakritana archana. And then there are namam dushketano muda padyante naradhama. These are four kinds of people who don't surrender to me. There are four kinds who surrender to me. Okay. Then in the end, now he's saying, okay, if this is that, then who are the demigods? Okay. Who are the demigods? Krishna speaks about the demigods. Okay, so this is seventh chapter. He talks about hearing. He talks about that he's everywhere. He speaks about, okay, it's not showing on the slide. I'm sorry. Yeah, so he speaks about hearing. He speaks about being everywhere. He speaks about those people who accept me and reject me. You know, and then he speaks about the demigods. Okay. Then we move on to the eighth chapter. Eighth chapter, the acronym. These acronyms are taken from a book that is compiled by His Holiness S.B. Keshav Swami Maharaj. These acronyms are from that book. It speaks about Gita in different acronyms. So these acronyms are from there. So the eighth chapter, that acronym is dead because you talk about birth and death over here. ऐसा नहीं कि आप इसको सुन के मर जाने वाले हो. But you're going to get to know about birth and death. So here Krishna speaks about DEAD, that is D stands for doubts, E stands for the end of life, what happens. Then how can you achieve supreme? And again, in the end, D again comes for devotion. So he speaks about these things. Now, if you go back, I told you to carry a Bhagavad Gita copy so that you don't open your phone or I don't show you anything on the screen. So if you have your Gita copies, you can open that and you can go to the verse number 29 of the seventh chapter, where Krishna is giving some big words before he is concluding the seventh chapter. There has to be some link, no? Otherwise, why would Arjuna ask again questions? So there has to be some link. So if you come to 7.29, in that, Krishna is speaking. He's saying intelligent persons, you are there on 7.29? So intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They're actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. And then 30th verse he says, those in full consciousness of me who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of God, even at the time of death. So here he's using some big words, He's talking about he's talking about some really big words. Like for example, if you see the Sanskrit, he says Sadi Bhutadi Daivam Mam Sadi Yagnam Cha Ye Vidu Prayana Kala Apicha Mam Te Vidu Yukta Chetasha. So he's really taking some big names over here. The one who's in full consciousness of me. He's saying Adi Bhuta, the governing principle of material manifestation. These are some really big terms. So now this brings some doubts in the minds of Arjuna, and that is the basis of he asking question in the first four verses of the eighth chapter. Okay, that's why if you come to the first verse of the eighth chapter now, you get to know the doubts that Arjuna is asking. Arjuna is saying, Arjuna Uvacha, Kim Tad Brahma, Kim Adhyatvam, Kim Karma, Purushottama, Adibhutam cha Kim Proktam, Adi Daivam Kim Uchyate. So he's saying, Oh my Lord, O Supreme Person, now connected with the 29th verse. What is Brahman? Okay, Krishna is talking about Brahman in the 29th verse. Okay, that they are actually Brahman. He speaks about in the 29th verse. Then what are fruitive activities? So what kind of, he's talking about some activities that they perform. Know everything about transcendental activities. So he's saying what are activities? Karma kya hai? Kim karma? Okay. What is a material manifestation? And what are demigods? He speaks about these things. So you all can move a little ahead because people will keep, please move a little ahead. तो सब लोग मेरे थोड़े करीब आ जाइए. Thank you. So he's saying, please explain to me. Okay. So what is Brahman? What is self? What are fruitive activities? That is karma. Kim karma purushottama. Adi bhutanam. He's talking about Adi bhutanam. What is the material manifestation? And what are demigods? Adi daivam. He's saying Kim Adi daivam Kim uchyate. Please explain me. Please explain me these things. He continues his question further in the second verse. Who is the Lord of sacrifice? Okay. And how does he live in this body? So he's talking about the super soul. Okay. He's talking about the super soul. Oh Madhusudana, and how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Please keep your phones on silent. This is the third time the phone is ringing. Please keep them on silent. Even I'll check my phone. So he's talking about how can you be engaged in devotional service and what happens at the time of death. These are the doubts of Arjuna. First two verses are purely doubts. Okay, purely doubts. Now these doubts I have put them into over here in the form of each and every slide. So we'll see that. So first is what he says. What is adhyatma? Adhyatma. Adi and Atma. This word is broken into two parts. Adi and Atma. Adi means person. Now Atma has multiple meanings depending upon the context in which it is used. Generally, we know Atma as soul. But Atma can have different meanings. It can have the body, mind, intelligence, soul. It depends on the context in which it is used. So here Arjuna is asking that what is Adhyatma? Because sometimes we feel who has when somebody leaves the body, like for example, over here a person is on the deathbed, he's about to leave his body. Okay. And we say कि हाँ वो गुजर गए, but कौन गुजर गए? The body is in front of you. Who passed away? We refer to the soul. The context of the soul is referred over here. So the soul is conscious, the body is dead. The body is dead, but the soul is conscious, the soul is moving out. Like for example, if someone dies, as I mentioned, we show that the soul has passed away. So that is the meaning of the word adhyatma. Then he comes to the word Brahman. What is Brahman? The Brahman is indestructible and eternally existing and refers to living entity. But beyond Brahman, there is Parabrahman. So we all are Brahmans. You understand? Consciousness, living entity. But then there is super consciousness, which is Parabrahman. Like we all are Atmas, but then there is a Paramatma. Good. So over here, Parabrahman refers to Supreme, whereas Brahman refers to all of us. Brahman doesn't mean that you become Brahma. That is not the Brahman realization. Two different things altogether. But if you see in the coming chapters, in the chapter number 10, Arjuna speaks about Param Brahma, Param Dhama. He is referring to Supreme Lord Krishna as the Param Brahma. So he says, my dear Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he speaks about karma. What is karma? So karma is the actions that we perform in material consciousness. The actions that we perform in material consciousness. So when we have material consciousness, the jiva's nature, when we have material consciousness, the jiva's nature is to lord over the material world. You understand Lord over material world? It's very natural for us to. Lord means control over the material world. So Jiva tries to enjoy. So material consciousness, Jiva's nature should try to be the lord of the matter. Like for example, he may try to eat different kinds of food stuff which are not even meant for him, or drink. Then the nature provides you that kind of a body because you're already enjoying. Like if you see in this picture, a man is trying to eat meat, drink wine. The next life, you can get easily a body of a hog or a pig, because the nature is saying, why do you want to bother yourself in the human life? Let's go to an animal life, and it's quite easy over there. Why don't you want to? Another way, somebody is too lusty towards a woman, or has done activities of molesting a woman, raping a woman, then you become a lusty dog. Become a lusty dog. So, what is karma? When Arjuna is asking what is karma, he means what is my next destination? Upon my activities, what destination I would get? How my next destination is decided? It is depending on the activities that I perform in this life. Is depending on the activities that I perform in this life. So when one tries to do these things, then this we get that destination. So various material bodies, by force of material consciousness, that is karma. You get different material bodies by the force of prakriti, by the force of the material nature. It's purely due to our own action. It's not somebody else's action. It's our own action. So in this way, we are continuously lording over different material elements. And time and again, when we have these weak links, then we'll fall prey to these things. So our mental state transforms into tangible objects. Like for example, in this room, you may not be able to see, but there are many frequencies. Okay, as soon as you put a TV box, channels will start getting connected. Okay, similarly, you have this body, you have a spirit, soul, and your mind has different frequencies. Okay, as soon as the desire fulfilling propensity comes, immediately that will be done. Okay, so your mental existence transforms into a tangible as soon as there is an opportunity. As soon as there is an opportunity, it will transform. So that is why controlling our mental state of mind is also at the time very important, because that decides the your destination. If you see on the other side, a spiritual consciousness, Jiva's position is to serve the Supreme Lord. Like Hanuman's consciousness was always to serve Sita and Ram. Okay, that is why even when he was given a pearl necklace, he was trying to find Sita and Ram in it. He said, "क्या इसमें सीता और राम नहीं है तो ये मेरे लिए बकवास है." But if somebody gives you a gold chain 24 carat, you forget about Sita and Ram. You just go and put it in your safe locker, or start wearing it from next day, because that is our consciousness. Because we are attracted to the yellow stone. It's actually a yellow stone. Shastras mention, I was hearing Prabhupada say, Shastras mention that in Shastra, in fact, we heard last week, that in Shastra, gold is referred to as stool. Gold is referred to as stool. Why? Because both are yellow in color. And that is one reason. Another reason is that as soon as you pass stool, do you look back and see it? No. You collect gold for your entire life, and who uses it when you leave this body, it is left here, and who uses it? Your next generation. Okay, you don't look back and कितना मैंने छोड़ दिया है पीछे. So people in the material world also accumulate a lot of gold, lot of wealth, but they leave it behind for others to use it. You don't look back and look at it. And but we give utmost attention, we give utmost pleasure. So spiritual consciousness is Krishna consciousness. That's the position in which we want to serve the Supreme Lord. Like if we see over here, Hanuman is wanting to serve Sita and Ram. It's completely opposite consciousness. Isn't it opposite? Yes. It's completely opposite consciousness from what um, material consciousness would be. So Krishna says karma means various bodies that we get. Sometimes it may be a devta body, sometimes it may be a gandharva body, sometimes it may be a human body, sometimes it may be a dog body, sometimes it may be a hog body, sometimes it may be a snake body, sometimes it may be bird, animal, insects, any body. depending on the actions that we have performed. Purely depending on the actions that we have performed. That is about karma. Then Arjuna is asking, what is Adi Bhuta? Adi Bhuta is ever changing manifestation, ever changing. Adi Bhuta, the transformation that takes place. So there are two kinds of machine in the world. One is bodily machine and one is a cosmic machine. They both undergo change. You see, in the material creation also there are changes happening, right? And in our body also there are changes happening. The body goes through six kinds of changes, six stages: birth, growth, maintained, produces byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. Every time it goes through six changes, whether it's a human body, whether it's a cat, dog, or even the material manifestation, it goes through these six changes. A dead thing, a matter, will always go into depreciation. It will never go into any kind of changes. ये टेबल को एक बार आपने बना दिया, डेड है. Why? It doesn't have consciousness. It will remain as it is. 50 साल के बाद भी वो depreciate हो जाएगा. पर वो बाय प्रोडक्ट, लाइक you cannot say a big Volvo truck and a mini a Crista, you know, uh, mated together and another vehicle came out. Can it happen? That cannot happen, right? It cannot happen. But a man and woman, when they unite, a child is begetted. Similarly, a female dog, a male dog, when they unite, another baby dog is produced. But so that's Adi Bhuta. It goes through the different kinds of changes. So Krishna says both the individual body as well as the universe undergoes different changes. It goes different changes. Okay, like the universe, Shrishti happens, creation happens, maintenance happens, and then Pralaya happens, destruction happens. Okay, similarly, both the body, universe, they both undergo some changes. That is called as Adi Bhuta. Then another question that Arjuna asks is about Adi Daiva. Okay, Adi Daiva. It's sort of technical in the starting part, but you'll have to pay a little attention. So he speaks about Adi Daiva, which is the universal form of the Lord, includes all the demigods also. Okay, so this is especially for those who are Ashtang Yogi. In the sixth chapter, if you remember, Ashtang Yogi meditates upon whom? He meditates on the Virat form of the Lord. If you recollect, how many of you are there in the sixth chapter, attending sixth chapter? हाथ थोड़ा ऊंचा कीजिए. काफी अच्छे और लंबे हाथ दिए हैं भगवान ने आप लोग को. So yeah, so in that he speaks about Ashtang Yogi, where the yogi meditates on the different limbs of the supreme personality of Godhead as different devtas. So each and every limb of the body of the supreme Lord resembles a devta. That is a Purusha Shuktam prayers, which describe that how different limbs of Krishna are actually different demigods, which are taking care of different limbs of the body. So, gigantic universal form of the Lord, called Adi Daivata, is contemplated by the neophyte who cannot approach the Supreme Lord in his manifestation as the Super Soul. So, planetary systems as his limbs. Patala is the bottom of his feet. Satyaloka is like the head of the Supreme Lord. Okay, Patala is down, right? 14 planetary systems, and the topmost planetary system is like Satyaloka in the material manifestation. That's like the head. Then the forehead, Tapaloka, mouth, face, Janaloka, neck, Mahaloka, chest, Swarga, navel, Bhur, Loka, hips, like that. There is each and every planetary systems are there. We are here at the hips, Mahitala. I'll take a water break. It's your ringtone. So you were also equally surprised as others who were around you. Yeah, I thought it. That's why I asked you, is it your ringtone? Did you change it today morning? You don't recollect also. So yeah, if you even refer to the Vishnu Sahasranam, these different uh, names are given in that, which speaks about the 14 planetary systems, which are all composed in the body of the Supreme Lord. Okay. So this is Adi Daiva, the one who meditates on that form, so universal form of the Lord that includes the demigods. The Ashtang Yogi, they meditate on this form. Then Arjuna is asking, what is Adi Yagna? The super soul situated in our hearts is called as Paramatma. So that is the next stage where one meditates on the Supreme Lord within the heart. That is uh, detached yogi. He is meditating on the Supreme Lord. So in this process of sacrifice, the living entity makes specific sacrifices to attain specific heavenly planets and consequently reaches them. Like for example, Prabhupada explains in the purport, like a Brahmana, when he's performing sacrifices, he's putting ahuti, right? And that ahuti, the pious credits of that ahuti goes up in the form of the fire sacrifice that has been happening. Once it goes up, it becomes an ahuti for the clouds to pour rain. Then the rain becomes an ahuti for the ground to beget grains. Okay, grains when we consume, we that becomes an ahuti for the man to develop semen. And when man develops semen, he unites with the female, which becomes an ahuti for the female's womb to beget another child. And that becomes a cycle. That becomes a cycle. Does it make sense? Yeah, that is how it happens. Ab anaj, you don't eat food, you cannot develop semen, and you cannot, if you don't have semen, you cannot beget a child. And without food, without grains cannot be produced by your Apple and Microsoft. It can be produced by grains. Can they produce? No, none of the factories. Once a child was asked, milk, from where does milk come? He's like, from Amul. Okay, he doesn't know that milk comes from cow. Amul just repackages it. You understand? So that is lack of knowledge or ignorance that we don't know about. So grains cannot be produced without rains, and rains cannot take place without yagya. And the yagya for Kali Yuga is the Harinam Sankirtan yagya. That is why we often see wherever there is Harinam takes place or Sankirtan happens, there is always rains are always timely. Like for a very long time in Hyderabad back in 1970s, there was a drought period. And when Prabhupada went there in 1970s, when somebody had offered land, they had done huge, for a very long time, kirtan on the streets, Sankirtan. And very soon, immediately, the next day or the day after that, there was heavy rains in Hyderabad. And the newspaper the next day read, Swamiji brings rains to Hyderabad. Yeah, because that is how yagya, that is yagya. You cannot perform yagya by sacrificial fire in Kali Yuga. You don't have pure brahmanas, you don't have shuddha ghee, there are many other ingredients that you don't have to perform yagya. आप यज्ञ में बैठ भी नहीं पाओगे. Immediately within 15 minutes you'll get up, your eyes will start burning. We don't have the purity to take the, inhale the yagya fire also, the smoke that is generated from the yagya fire, which is auspicious, but we don't have that. So uh, in this process of sacrifice, the living entity makes specific sacrifices to attain specific heavenly planets, and consequently he reaches them. So in this way, a living entity perpetually comes and goes on the material path. The Krishna conscious person, however, avoids such a sacrifice. He avoids such a sacrifice. He takes directly to Krishna consciousness and thereby prepares himself to go back to Godhead. So this is a long, elongated process. But in the end, Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport, but a Krishna conscious person avoids these things. He avoids these things. So these are the doubts of Arjuna after the seventh chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, wherein he was asking about few things: Adhyatma, Brahman, Karma, Adibhuta, the changes, the manifestations that take place. Then he's speaking about Adi Daiva, okay, how there is a Virat Roop and how the demigods are a part of that, and different limbs of the Virat Roop are actually different planetary systems. And then he speaks about Adi Yagna, that how you perform sacrifice, okay, sacrifice, and but the Krishna conscious person doesn't perform such a detailed sacrifice. He directly uh, avoids such sacrifice and directly takes up to bhakti yoga. He directly takes up to devotional life. Is this clear? This is a link between seventh and the eighth chapter. Okay, clear? I forgot your name. Vyas, something. Mahimal Vyas, right? Mahimal. Mahiman Vyas, right? But Vyas, your surname is Vyas, right? So E, end of life. Here we speak about something that is quite interesting. But yeah, let's see. Anyways, yeah. So you got what I was showing? Yes. You missed it. So many times we don't know about death. We don't know, but the majority of us absolutely don't know what is death, what is happening, what is going to happen in death. Of course, in this corona time, people were very afraid that what will happen after that. What if death comes to me? We were very afraid of that. So that is why Krishna answers that what happens to you at the time of death. Let's recite this very famous verse. अंतकाले च मामेवाम् अंतकाले च मामेवाम् स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयति सद्मद्भावम् यः प्रयति सद्मद्भावम् याति नास्ति यत्र संशयः याति नास्ति यत्र संशयः. Krishna saying अंतकाले च मामेवम् स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम्. So at the time of death, whatever you remember, that's going to be your destination. So so if you read the translation to that, it says, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Like once there was a mill owner in Calcutta. Prabhupada was mentioning the story. Once there was a mill owner in Calcutta. He had 4 sons and he was almost about to leave his body. So he was on his deathbed in his house, and all his 4 sons were standing in front of him. So he asked, when he opened his eyes, when he saw the 4 sons in front of him, he asked the sons, "Hey, all of you are here, then who's in the mill?" And he left his body, because that was his consciousness. He was thinking about the mill even when he was leaving his body. So Prabhupada says, because he was so attached to the mill, he would have become a rat in the mill. Because that is our consciousness. Sometimes people are attached to dogs, sometimes people are attached to a cat, and they remember them. They may remember them. Like Bharat Maharaj. I'm going to be giving an example of Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj got attached to a deer. He remembered the deer. He left his body, became a deer in the next life. So that's a very risky affair. So just as by remembering Krishna, one attains Krishna, by remembering something else, one attains that object. Okay, like over here again. Narayan! Narayan! Oh, Narayan! Leave this man alone. Who are you, just showing ghosts? For we are the younger deuces. You know the story of Ajamin? Yes. So Ajamin was a nice Brahmana. He was born in a Brahmin family. Um he used to do regularly his prayers, offer respects to his parents, do his sandhya vandanam. But he was not very much educated with the knowledge of the body and the spirit's soul. So when once he was going in the forest and he saw a man in a very low a great women embracing each other, he got attracted to the women. So much so that he got her home and had children with them, children with her, and he threw away his parents. So he degraded his life completely from the place that he was. Okay, and what happened when he became 88 years old? When it was time for him to leave the body, or the Yamnutas came to take him out of the body because he had done so many sinful activities. But his 10th son he had named as Narayan. So he's calling out the name of Narayan, right? He's calling out the different names of Narayan because he was attached to his son so much. He was just a very small son. So he was attached. But because he was taking the name of Narayan, the Vishnudutas came and told him that you cannot take this Ajamin now because he has taken the name of Narayan. Ajamin immediately realized what a mistake he had done. The next life, he gets one more chance, second chance. He goes to Haridwar, does all spiritual practices, takes the holy names of the Lord, associates with saintly people, engages himself in hearing about the Supreme Lord. And at the end of the death, he perfects that life. And then again, Vaikuntha plane comes to take him back to. This is Vaikuntha plane coming back again to take him to Vaikuntha. So that is the story of Ajamil. We see it in the case of Draupadi also. You know, Draupadi, when she was getting insulted, she called out for her husbands. She called out for the elders who were there in the assembly. She called out for other people. By the end, she realized nobody's going to save me. So she loudly called out for Krishna, Gopijana Vallabha, Dwarkadi. She shouted loudly, and Krishna at that time in Dwarka, he was having his lunch. Satyabhama was serving lunch to Krishna. As soon as he heard the cry of Draupadi, Satyabhama did not know what's happening. Why is Krishna leaving the lunch and running? Krishna said, "Nahi, nahi, I have to go. Somebody is calling me." And immediately he runs and he goes to save the life of Draupadi by supplying unlimited sari. So this is in reference to that verse, Antakale Chemamiram Swaram Mukta Kalivaram. Similarly, we see for this is Gajendra going back to Vaikuntha, Om Namo Narayana. So Gajendra offered, when he was caught by the crocodile and was not able to relieve himself, he was who in the previous life? He was Maharaj Indradumna in the previous life. And the previous life he had done a lot of spiritual activities. So he chanted the Gajendra Mokshan prayers to Vishnu when he was in trouble. Vishnu immediately came to rescue. But because there was practice done, we had that consciousness. If there is no practice, we wouldn't have the consciousness. And then in Vaikuntha, we know that, okay, Narayana is the Supreme Lord and Lakshmi is there, and we all are other serving the Supreme Lord over there. So this is Gajendra coming to Vaikuntha. That's continuation slide. Okay. So on what basis the soul is awarded the next body? What basis? Let's see that. Another important verse. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam
Yam yam vapi smaran bhava.
tyajati ante kalevaram
Vyajayate kalevaram.
tam tam evaiti kaunteya
Tam tam devati kaunteya.
sada tad bhava bhavita.
Sadat bhava bhavita.
So whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail, without fail. So many times, sometimes we are walking on the street, a thorn may pick us, you know, लग चुभ जाता है कांटा. हम जोर से कहते हैं मम्मी पापा, या कभी कभार we may use a bad word also, okay, because that is what we are trained in. Okay, that is what we are trained in. मैं thorn का example क्यों दे रहा हूँ? Because death is also like that only, painful. Thorn is just like a glimpse of the death that you can get. But when death comes, it's also very, very painful. At that time, what will you remember? That time, whatever you remember, you will get that. So if someone wants to remember the Lord, then they have to practice chanting. That is why the process of chanting is there. That is why the process of taking the holy names of the Lord is there. Otherwise, it's not possible. It's not possible. मम्मी पापा जैसे कल मैं गया था किसी घर पे उसके कुत्ते का नाम था फीफी. If you die and if you remember Fifi, then you become Fifi. Right? It's possible. It's possible. Baba, there are many examples of that. We saw Bharat Maharaj. And he'll come up. He'll be coming up next. So it's very important that we develop that right consciousness as to who we remember at time of. So you become addicted to that word. You can speak that only when you practice. Otherwise, so sorry, we accept one body after quitting another, depending on two things. One is our desire. Another is our actions. Two things determine your destination. One is your desire. Another is your action. Okay. So punya is like the currency you have, that what you want to desire. You may desire to buy a big house, but do you have the currency? You have the money to buy the big house. You don't have the money to buy the big house. You may have the money to buy a small house. Now can you buy the big house? And death, when can death come? Death can come at any point of time. Any point of time. There's no prior WhatsApp message or a reminder, I'm coming. You see, in every video, if you see, people were not expected to die. You see this guy over here, this was dangerous when I saw it. Just imagine. Even this one at the back over here, up, uh, even this one, he's gone to the bank counter, some office. Death is dangerous. At any point of time, it can come. This is reality. It's not to inculcate fear, but where will they go after leaving their body? What is the deciding factor? Is the consciousness that we have at that time. इसको देख के आपको हो रहा है. Just imagine when it comes to you, what will happen. So yeah, we have over here different people. See, a person who's very lusty, then this is what he can get next life. One who is lazy, loves to sleep, then be it. Be it. Be it. One who is envious, उसको promotion मिला मेरे को नहीं दिया, या उसको she's going with him not with me, or whatever it is, then you become a snake. Snake is always envious. Snake doesn't ask you. You cannot even ask him, मुझे क्यों काटा रे? He will just be. He will just bite you. That's it. He will just bite you. Snake is so venomous. It will just bite you. Snake and scorpions, both. Envious. One who is made of big short body, people make body, and then they expose this. Yes. Nature is giving you the facility. Don't wear any clothes. अभी बारिश इतना हो रहा है. कभी आपको कैसा लगा कि मैं लाके झील का विंडशीटर देता हूँ, मेरे बाजू में बाहर पेड़ खड़ा है, रोज भीग रहा है. कभी नहीं लगता. You don't get that feeling because the consciousness of the tree is to bear that. Similarly, this guy, you see this, Mr. Bean, he's eating the way it should not. Like the way a tiger can pounce on a deer and eat the deer. We are supposed to pounce on a carrot. Can we pounce on a deer? Can we pounce on a deer? Then that's the nature. Nature is given as a facility. Deer पे कूद जाओ और खाना चालू कर दो, possible ही नहीं है. But you are supposed to pounce on carrot, gulab jamun, gajar ka halwa, ice creams, pizzas. These are the things that you pounce on, right? We give you that after the class when we have prasad, we give you that and then you pounce onto it. It's natural for you, right? It's natural. But if I just imagine after the class I give you a big deer, अरे कैसे? It will be like, it's not your nature to do that. It's not our nature to do that. But we are doing it. See, we are doing it. So our mentality decides our next body. Okay, our mentality decides our next body. Like human life is meant for self-realization, less sleeping. But you just keep on sleeping, then the Lord is okay. Arrangement is there. Please take it. So Bharata remembered a deer at the time of death and became a. So Maharaj Bharat, although a great personality, thought of a deer at the end of his life, and so in his next life he was transferred into the body of a deer. Although as a deer, he remembered the past activities, he had to accept the animal body. He could remember his past life because he had almost perfected his life to the extent of 98%. But because he remembered the deer, he had to accept. Like people get attached to a cat or a dog, and if you remember them at the time of death, then there is no point. There is no harm in feeding a dog. You can feed a dog, give him a biscuit to eat, but don't get attached. Attachment is dangerous. Instead of getting attached to dog, you get attached to God. Both are having the same letters, DOG and God. You get attached to God. Many people say we don't have time, but they have time to spend time with their dogs. We say ना अपने थोड़ा माला कर लो, थोड़ा गीता पढ़ लो, थोड़ा मंदिर आ जाओ. प्रभु जी टाइम नहीं है. But you have time to take your dog for a stroll in the morning and see him poop. We do have time. We do have time. I see people in the morning. So you develop attachment. The more you dwell on a certain activity, you develop attachment towards that activity. It's automatic. So of course, one's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulates to influence one's thought at the time of death. You will 9 out of 10 times, basis the Shastra, I'm saying that you will come to a point only to remember a particular incident, what you have done your whole life. What you have done your whole life, वही आपके at the end of the life पूरा recap में वही पता चलेगा. At the time of death, there's a recap, and recap will show you the entire recap. And most of your life, if you have done devotional activities, then you will see that only, no? You'll see that only. So this life creates one's next life. If one always thinks of Krishna, it is possible for one to remember Krishna at the end of one's life. That will help one to be transferred to the transcendental nature of Krishna. So some of you may have a question, I practice Krishna consciousness all my life. पूरा जवानी दे दिया मैंने, ठीक है? पर बुढ़ापे में I became bedridden. I was passing stool and urine in the bed only, or I went into coma. So अभी क्या होगा? मैं तो याद नहीं कर पाऊंगा भगवान को. So now क्या मेरा मैंने जो भी किया, is it a waste? Is it a waste? So in the third Charma Shloka of Varaha Purana, Krishna mentions that when my devotees in their youthful age who live a spiritual life, by the time of death, at the time in their old age, they become, their body is weak, and due to some reasons they are not able to remember me. They even pass their stool and urine in bed, they go into coma. I come and personally take them back to Godhead because they have given their entire youth to remember me. See, the Lord is not a impractical person. You understand? He's not insensitive. कि नहीं नहीं मैंने बोला था यम यम वापी स्मरण भावम, तो तुमने याद किया क्या? याद नहीं किया ना? यम यम. I agree that you went to ISKCON, you went for all the yatras, you did 16 rounds, you gave your 20 30 years in ISKCON, you really worked hard, but yam yam vapi swaran bhavam. At the time of death, you did not remember me, so boss, no eligibility. It's not like that. Krishna gives you. He is sensible and he is sensitive. He will the award, the reward is given. Hence, it's very important that we use and see now because we are young, we can do it with our own will and with our own choice. When you become old, you will have the will, but sometimes your body may not support you, or people around you may not be support. You'll not provide support to you that you can come and spend time. Facilities are there. I know people in my family. I know people in the other people's family. They are not able to, even if the facility is there. There is a facility to go by vehicle. There is a facility to get 2 times food, but still they don't have the will or the desire also to come to the temple and spend some time because the whole life they have engaged in just watching TV serials or just done what is not supposed to be done. Hence, at the time of death, at the time in the old age, when the last few days are there, last few years are there, still that desire doesn't develop. लोग अक्सर कहते हैं जब थोड़ा सेटल हो जाऊंगा ना फिर कर लूँगा, यू नो। लोग अक्सर कहते हैं यार, लोग ऐसे कहते हैं थोड़े सफ़ेद बाल आ जाएँगे मुझे, या थोड़ा मैं बूढ़ा हो जाऊँगा, फिर मैं थोड़ा I'll give some time. I'll give more dedicated time to all these things. I'll be more free, you know. But the time never comes. It's only actually you can practice Krishna consciousness, you can practice spirituality only wholeheartedly, heartiously only when you are young. Because you have the choice, you have the strength, you have the will to do it. As you start growing old, you have more and more connections. Connections. There are more and more anchors. And how will you remove all the anchors and let your boat free? Because you have so many anchors. यहाँ डाल के रखा है, वहाँ डाल के रखा है, वहाँ डाल के रखा है, यहाँ डाल के रखा है. So many anchors. Not possible. So youth is very, very important. Don't waste your youth in uh, unnecessary things. Apart from studies, apart from your job, engage your free time in devotion activities, in Krishna conscious activities, because this time will not come back. So of course, hearing the class, studying the Bhagavad Gita and all is important, but most important thing is to have a practical application of how it is to be done. Otherwise you cannot remember Lord. Practical application is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha. This is a practical application. Hearing class and understanding the Bhagavad Gita is to come bring you to this level that you can chant Hare Krishna and develop a taste to chant Hare Krishna. Otherwise, there is no way you can remember the Lord. You tell me, frankly tell me, after attending a Sunday class, how many of you all Monday remember Krishna? How many of you all really Monday remember Krishna? Unless until you all chant daily. How many of you all chant daily out of this? No. To remember Monday Krishna, not those who don't remember. There are few people who raise their hands to remember Krishna on Monday, but उसमें से कितने लोग chant करते हैं? A few. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to remember him because it's not possible, practically possible. You come every Sunday for 2 hours and you think that okay, I can remember the Supreme Lord. No, because out of the 2 hours of Sunday, 22 hours, so you're doing something that is non-Krishna conscious, and another 24 into another 6 days, again you're doing things which are non-Krishna conscious. Close to 150 hours, another 170 hours, you're doing things which are non-Krishna conscious. So how is it possible? The percentage itself, you do not 2 divided by 170 hours, कितना होता है? कितना होता है? Any math expert? It's very few. Percentage is so low. We're not able to remember. It's very difficult. Hence, we should chant. We should take up this feedback and daily chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And spend time on understanding how we can increase our chanting and also give more time to it, because this is a laboratory apparatus. Chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is actually the apparatus which can cleanse our heart and develop faith for the Supreme Lord. Then we'll also start understanding the philosophy and paying attention. Otherwise, it's just a matter of time. We will lose taste. So Prabhupada says in the sixth words that we just discussed in that purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that if one transcendently absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be transcendental, that is spiritual, not material. Therefore, the chanting of the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being at the end of one's life. Okay. Like you see all these people, they all perfected their lives and now they are eternally with the Supreme Lord in the spiritual uh, world. They are not here anymore. So, and then Krishna gives the concluding point in the seventh verse. He repeats. You can recite this after me. तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु माम् अनुस्मर युध्य च मयि अर्पिता मनो बुद्धिर् मामेव स्यसि संशयः. So what he is saying, you do these two things. What is that? Mam anusmara, that is remember me. Yudhyacha, do your duties. So if you're a student, then remember Krishna and study. If you're working, then remember Krishna and work. If you're a housewife, then do your household duties, kitchen duties, and hear about Krishna Kirtan or Krishna Katha. So, in whichever position we are, we're supposed to remember Krishna. Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. Okay. Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. Otherwise, it is just for our own self. So, like this way, you can always absorb yourself in Krishna. Hence, it becomes very, very difficult. So, Krishna said, Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara. Arjuna may think, how is it possible? So, Krishna says it, Abhyasa. How can I do it? Arjuna is saying, how can I really think about you while fighting? How can I really think about you while studying? How can I really think about you while I'm working? You know, let's recite it. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya gamini paramam purusham devyam yati parthanu chindayam. So don't allow your consciousness to go anywhere. He's saying yati parthanu chindayam. Don't allow Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasha nanya gamini param purusha divyam. Chetasha nanya gamini. Nanya gamini means don't allow it to go anywhere else. Don't allow it to deviate. So don't allow your consciousness to go anywhere else. My dear Partha, Arjuna, by remembering me without allowing your mind to wander anywhere else. So that is, he's saying, do abhyasa, and how you can think about me. So he who meditates on me as a supreme personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. Chetasha Nanya Gamini. He says Chetasha without there being any deviation. Without there being any deviation. Don't deviate. So mold your life in such a way that morning to evening you'll be able to remember Krishna. You have to mold it in such a way. Avoid those things that gives you forgetfulness of Krishna. Like avoid bad association. People who don't discuss about the Supreme Lord, don't associate with them. People who discuss about the Supreme Lord, give time to them. Spend some time with the devotees. If you come to Nectar of Instruction, the verses it mentions that what kind of six things that you do which take you away from devotion, and the six things that you do that takes you into devotion. You recite this after me. Atyahara prayasascha ajalpo niyama agraha jansangascha lolyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. Six things. Atyahara. Atyahara means वो तो आपने लिखा है overeating actually. Overeating or too much collecting. Atyahar karna. Too much, sometimes हमें 2 pairs of shoes are enough, but we have 20. Or maybe 4 pairs of trousers are enough to go to office in a week, but we have 40. Atyahara. Prayasas. Prayasas means over endeavoring. Sometimes our capacity is not to really, go from a 1 to a 3 BHK. We have capacity to stay in 1 BHK, but we over endeavor. We take multiple loans and spend our whole life in repaying that loan. Prayasascha. Over endeavoring. Okay. Prajalpa. Prajalpa means दिख नहीं रहा है, अच्छी बात है. Prajalpa means Prajalpa means talking mundane things, talking mundane topics, mundane things, non-Krishna conscious things is Prajalpa. Gossip करना, backbiting करना, एक दूसरे के बारे में बात करना, Prajalpa. Niyama agraha means not following the rules. Niyama agraha means there are certain rules and regulations you are too attached to them, too much, नहीं नहीं ऐसा बोला तो ऐसा ही करना पड़ेगा, too much attached to following rules and regulations. Jan sanga means associating with those who are materially conscious, material minded people. Jan sanga, cha laulyam cha. So Krishna says over here, laulyam is, I think, so greedy. Yeah, ardent longing or greed. One is too greedy. Shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. These six things will finish your bhakti. The six things will finish your bhakti. Shadbir bhakti vinashyati. Then there are six things which can improve your bhakti. उत्साह निश्चयात् धैर्यात् तत्कर्मा प्रवर्तनात् संगत्यागत सतोवृते षड्भिर्भक्तिर्प्रसिद्ध्यति षड्भिर्भक्ति प्रसिद्ध्यति. So six things will take you ahead in bhakti. One is utsaha, that is enthusiasm. Nishchaya, that is determination. Confidence, determination. Confidence, nishchaya. Dhairya means patience or being more tolerant. Dhairyat. Tat karma pravartanat. Then doing activities which are favorable to bhakti or Krishna consciousness. Okay. Sangatyagat. Sangatyagat means you give up the association of those who are not Krishna conscious. So Sangatyagat. By giving up association of non-devotees. People are they are not devotionally inclined, give up that association. Sagat Satovrite. Satovrite means do what the great previous acharyas have told us to do. Satovrite. Shadbir Bhakti Prasiddhyati. So these six things will help us progress in Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so I was on this point when I went there. So we have to mold our life in such a way that we take part in more and more morning to evening. We are able to remember Krishna and give up association of things which take us away from Krishna. Like there are so many activities which we can engage ourselves. Like for example, we come for the Sunday class. We have street harinams. You can take books from your distribute books yourself. Okay, you can take part in enrollments that are there for different programs that connect people to Krishna consciousness. You can participate in yatras that we go out for and take part in different festivals. So there are so many things that we can increase. There are so many ways in which we can increase our remembrance of Krishna. So the Lord does not say that one should give up his prescribed duties or engagements. One can continue. Like sometimes people ask, सर मैं आपके लेक्चर में आऊँगा और ज़्यादा आपका सुनूंगा तो फिर मुझे आपके जैसे हेयर स्टाइल रखना पड़ेगा, और आपके ऐसे कपड़े पहनने पड़ेंगे. Like I was hearing Gaurang Prabhu yesterday and he was mentioning that he was offering prasad once to one person, one boy, and prasad he was offering and that boy was saying, नहीं प्रसाद नहीं लूंगा. अरे पागल है क्या? मैंने सुना है लोग किताब के लिए ना बोलते हैं, किसी और चीज़ के लिए प्रसाद के लिए कौन ना बोलता है? मुझे नहीं, प्रसाद खाऊंगा तो फिर आपके ऐसा बन जाऊंगा. प्रसाद नहीं खाऊंगा. So Krishna is saying, don't be afraid. That we will. That Krishna is assuring that over here that we don't. One doesn't need to give up his prescribed duties or engagements. One can continue them at the same time think of Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna. This will free one from the material contamination and engage the mind and intelligence in Krishna. Like the way you see Gajendra, he was an elephant. He was not in a human body, but he could remember the Supreme Lord. We see Prahlad. Prahlad was just a 5-year-old boy. Okay, he was not an adult to practice Krishna consciousness and go back. So they all achieved the supreme destination because so if your heart is purified and there is love for Krishna, we'll be able to go back to him. So therefore, by chanting Krishna's name, one will be transferred to the supreme planet Krishna Loka without any doubt. Without any doubt. So what was E standing for? अभी जो हमने E किया, DE, end of life. So here we speak about death. So everybody's body eventually, faster or later, will end. There is an expiry date, 70, 80, 90, max 95, 100. Not beyond that. It will dwindle and it will deteriorate. But how you can perfect your uh, death, it depends on the preparation you do in this life. That's the only way you can prepare. You can perfect your death, because we are wandering from one body to another body, like a bird goes throughout the day. The bird is flying in the sky. At the end of the day, it goes back to the nest and it takes rest. When it goes back to the nest, it feels very blissful. Similarly, when we go back home, back to God, we also feel peaceful and blissful, provided we make an attempt to go back. Otherwise, we are also wandering from one body to another body, one body to another body, and living in this material world. Any questions till here?
Hare Krishna, in the verse, Krishna mentioned that according to your last karmas, your last desire remain exploded. But for example, if someone desires very wrong, but he has a good amount of karma, very he has done very good activities. So how he will get the
So there were two factors. Huh? One is your desire, another is your actions. So your next body is completely dependent on both the factors taken into consideration. It's not just your your thought at the time of death is also important, but at the same time, your thought at the time of death will also develop basis the actions that you have done. You will get a bad thought in the mind only when you have done those activities throughout. अगर आप you have been a kidnapper for the whole life, then you will think about kidnapping even at the time of death, or you will think about the kidnapping incidents that you did at the time of death. Okay, if you've been a thief your whole life, then you'll think about that incidents when you die also, right? And you may not have the desire to do it now, but you'll think about those incidents. So our like I say now, life is a preparation, death is an examination. That examination we can give only depending on the preparation we have done. So there are four subjects: English, mathematics, economics, and say uh, a language subject. If you have prepared well in mathematics and say economics, then even if all four are asked, you'll be able to think about mathematics and economics only, right? Because you prepared well for that. So it all depends on the preparation that we do for the examination. But the point is, this examination is surprise test. We don't know when it's going to come. We really don't know when it's going to come. We may think that we are there. We are going to see 24th of July. We think, but we think we are not sure about that. So desire will also come at the time of death. Like for example, if you see this video called "The Final Lesson," where Prabhupada's video is there of how he is living in his last few days. So if you observe that, you will come to know that Prabhupada, though he was completely very weak. There was no mass in his body, but still he was translating Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Because his consciousness was at that level. So he was thinking, he was contemplating that in the last so many years I have tried to fulfill the desire, or I have tried to fulfill the instruction of my spiritual master, and I have done that since the time he gave me. So I met him in 1922 when I was 26 years old, and since then I have always tried and made an attempt to fulfill the instruction of my spiritual master. Now when I'm 81, 82 years old, leaving my body, he's still trying to fulfill the instruction of the spiritual master, because that is what he has been doing since the last so many years. So our practice of this life will determine our destination the next. So इसलिए the stress is that practice practice in your youth, come to the temple, pick up the beat bag, chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, follow the four regulative principles, read the Bhagavad Gita, because when death will come, you don't know. You continue your job, you continue your studies, you do whatever you wish to do, but along with that, continue these practices, because these practices will decide your next life. Your job will not decide your next life. You know, your scores, your salary packages, your relatives, your car at the time of death, your insurance package at the time of death doesn't decide your next life. It's only your actions that you perform in this life decides your next life. Isn't it basic intelligence to actually work on it? It's very basic intelligence. कोई भी जो थोड़ा भी बुद्धिमान व्यक्ति होगा बोलेगा अरे मुझे एक्चुअली वो करना चाहिए जिसका कुछ असर होने वाला है. Why should I do that जिसका कोई असर ही नहीं होगा? So intelligence is that we should work towards doing that. We should all make an attempt to sincerely become Krishna conscious. Krishna conscious doesn't mean that you wear a dhoti kurta, you have a shaven head, you have a tilak, you stay in the temple. No. Just imagine if all of you come and stay in the temple, then where will we go? People think that ISKCON में सब लोग बुलाते हैं ताकि उन लोगों को recruit करना है. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. We want to we invite people to come and attend these lectures so that you are educated about what the purpose of life is, because our modern education system doesn't teach you that. It teaches you to become a professional beggar. That's it. You wear a tie, you wear a nice pant, and you go and beg. Please give me a job. It doesn't make you an independent person. You don't become self-sufficient. But the Vedic culture teaches you how to be self-satisfied. It teaches you what is the purpose of life. That is the most important thing. That is the most important thing. Yes, you had a question, bro. Loudly.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Guru. So Krishna says over there like with a material person or not Krishna conscious person, your devotion perishes. Like, then how do you manage with your workplaces and your college friends and all? Like, sometimes you're not Krishna conscious people.
Yeah, so you do as much as it is required. I know that my colleagues in the office, if I know that my colleagues in my office are non-Krishna conscious, they are not devotees, then I engage with them to the extent only that is required. Okay, what is my required extent of engaging with them? 10 to 8, my office hours. 10 to 6, my office hours, right? Not beyond that. Beyond that is like, okay, अच्छा क्या कर रहा है, चलना यार आज, मतलब लेट्स गो, यहाँ पे नया यू नो आर अड्डा खुला है या बॉम्बे अड्डा खुला है और वट एवर इट इज ओपन, लेट्स गो देयर, you know. So that is your decision to associate, because can you really talk mundane things in office? Can you really do that? No, you cannot. How long you can talk also? How long? How long you can? How long you can really fool in the office? How long? I don't think so. That if you're really getting paid well, they are paying you to fool them. No, they don't. Right? If they're really paying you to fool them, then maybe you are also a fool in doing that. Right? So the point is that when we are in the outside realm, where we deal with friends or colleagues who are non-devotees, we engage with them to the extent it is required, and then duty bound. That's it. Like, and when I was working outside, I was practicing Krishna consciousness. I would engage to the fact to the extent it was required, not beyond that. That's enough. That's more than enough. It doesn't mean that okay, they are cutting a cake for all the. There's a cake cutting ceremony in the office, and I'm sitting in one corner. नहीं 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 नहीं. वो cake एगलेस है, एग वाला है, मैं नहीं पास में नहीं जाऊँगा. You can participate in that. You may avoid having the cake. You're duty bound to be a part of that culture at that point of time, right? But you're not duty bound to honor that cake. That's your choice. Simple as that. And it all depends. There are so many case to case. Somebody is sitting in front of you with a meat and you are eating vegetarian food. You can excuse yourself, sir. I'm not very comfortable. I can sit on other table and have it. And if you're more sense control, then you can even sit in front of people who are having meat and still not get bothered by it. right? Because it's like, if I'm in a devotee attire, I'm flying on a flight, okay, and there is a person next to me, I'm sitting in the middle seat, A and C, window and aisle, both are having meat. What do? I get up and stand for the 2 hours? Don't do that. I be practical enough to be there and focus my senses on chanting, hearing, reading, because there's no option that you can do more. We are living. So that is why ahead Krishna speaks about yogis and tyagis. Tyagis are who are very frustrated with this material world and they want to go to Brahma Loka and enjoy there. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That is what they want to do. And those who are here, karmis, bhogis, they want to do sacrifices to enjoy here. But both of them are wanting to enjoy. One wants to enjoy here, one wants to enjoy. But Krishna says, दोनों जगह पे सुख नहीं है भैया. दुखालय शाश्वतम. यानी quotes that verse. It comes in this chapter. That from the Brahmaloka to the Pataloka, all the 14 planetary systems have Dukhalaya Shashvatam. Brahma is also bound by Dukhalaya Shashvatam. This is the lifespan of Brahma. So Brahma is also bound by Dukhalaya Shashvatam. He also faces death. Says Sahasra Yoga Paryantam. Brahma's lifespan is thousands of years, thousand Divya Yoga. That's the life of Brahma. He lives. But he is also a Shashvatam. There is no Shashvata. There is also a Shashvata. That is more important. So how did I come there to kind of yogis and tyagis? So so the point is that though we may be in a devotional attire, so it doesn't mean that we are practicing Krishna consciousness, but it doesn't make us tyagi that, oh no, we'll give up everything and we'll go to the forest. We live in the city, we practice celibacy, we use everything in Krishna's service. This laptop is there, projector is there, a phone is there. It's used in Krishna's service. That is called bhakti yoga. That is called devotion. Answers your question? Yeah. आपने नहीं, गीता ने बताया. आजकल आपने बोलना बहुत डेंजरस है, मानो ना. अंतकालेश मामेव. So make it focused. Like I was hearing a nice video by Mahatma Prabhu. He was saying, and it gave me a lot of impact. Like he was saying that how do we inattentively chant? He says we chant Hare Krishna. Like for example, he's Krishna, and I am remembering Krishna. I'm talking to him. So I'm talking to him. So Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram. So my attention is like that with the Lord when I'm inattentive. He's there in front of you, but you're there. Tell me, what are you saying? Go on, I'm hearing. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Okay. अच्छा, okay. अच्छा, okay. ठीक है. ठीक है. This is how my attention is when I'm dealing with. How will he feel? Same way Krishna feels, right? Because our dealing is like that with him. Our dealing is so impersonal. You're taking his name, बुला रहे हो, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But you are like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. We are dealing like that, right? Our dealing is like that with him. So make it more attentive. When you are chanting, that means you are chanting. That then you try to just peacefully hear the mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. So you carefully just hear the 16 words nicely. There is no other thing that is more important in the world than to do that. that will be developed slowly and gradually. Even I'm trying to develop that, so that will be developed slowly and gradually. It doesn't come over a period of time, but it doesn't come overnight. It happens over a period of time. So let's make an attempt to. Actually, that made a lot of difference in my chanting. I just came across this video sometime back, and it made a lot of difference in my chanting. So yeah, we should try and be more attentive while we are chanting, and that is what your question was, right? लास्ट संडे पूरा एक लेक्चर लिया चेतन अवतार प्रभु ने जपा के ऊपर. आप थे ना उसमें? नहीं, आप नहीं थे, आप तो ट्रेन में थे. It is uploaded online. Yeah, so it is uploaded online. You can see that. You can see that. If I get that, I will share with you. But I just it was a nice. If I find that, I will share with you. But he was saying the same thing, that Krishna is in front of you when you are chanting, but you are looking here and there, talking to somebody else, looking at somebody's clothes, reading what is there on the wall. So you can just focus on chanting. Any other questions? Yes, bro. Yeah.
So at what situation we should choose dependent on Krishna, and what situation we can choose our own free will. Basically, what is the difference?
Actually, every situation we are dependent on Krishna.
Somehow, sometimes
We are in illusion that we are independent of Krishna, but in every situation we are dependent on Krishna. Free will is there when we have to decide. If you're not sure what you have to decide, then you can consult a spiritual authority. Okay, what I should do. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. You guide me what I'm supposed to do. Otherwise, we are always governed by the will of the Lord. Is that your question? No, no. What your question is? Is that your question?
ऐसा रहता है कि कुछ सिचुएशन में हमें खुद के डिसीजन लेने पड़ते हैं,
जैसे कि
और एक रहता है कि कभी कभी
सिचुएशन का
हमारे
एग्जांपल
हाथ में
दीजिए.
नहीं रहते.
हाँ. You can give me an
बेसिकली
example.
मतलब छोटे छोटे डिसीजन भी जो कि अब हमारे द्वारा नहीं हो पाते, तो हम कृष्ण के ऊपर डिपेंड हैं. तो फिर कौन से ऐसे सिचुएशन है जैसे कि हम कृष्ण के ऊपर डिपेंड है, या फिर और कुछ रहता है कि जैसे हम डिसीजन
जैसे भक्ति है, it is your choice. You're not dependent on Krishna. It's your choice. आपको डिसाइड करना है. आपके पास आपके फादर ने 5,000 रुपीज़ पॉकेट मनी दिया है. वो 5,000 रुपीज़ से आप यात्रा में आ सकते हो, या तो फिर आप लोनावला भी जा सकते हो. आपके दैट्स योर चॉइस. हमें आप इसमें बोल सकते हैं कि हाँ नहीं, कृष्णा के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट था तो कृष्णा ने मुझे लोनावला भेज दिया. ऐसे तो नहीं बोल सकते ना. स्मोकिंग इज इंजurious टू हेल्थ, पैकेट पे लिखा हुआ है. But you cannot say that Krishna wanted me to smoke, so I smoked. You cannot blame the destiny because of your desire and actions. Your desire and actions are there to have to smoke. That is why that was given in front of you. And then you took that as an opportunity. Okay? That is why you took that as an opportunity.
choice हमारे पास.
हमेशा नहीं. You don't have the choice to decide when you want to pass through it, right? You don't have the choice. It's a nature's arrangement, right? So you don't have the choice when you want to feel hungry. It's nature's arrangement. Your body decides. You can tame your body, but certain things that are out of your control. So when you ask me that what are the things that are under our, we can make choices upon, there are many things that we can make choices upon. But we should always try and understand that my choices would take me closer to Krishna or away from Krishna. That's the best way of analyzing. जो भी मैं करूँगा, will I go a step towards the Lord or will I go a step away from the Lord? Because if I go away from the Lord, then this human life is useless. Because on this human life, I only get an opportunity in this human life to go towards the Lord. The rest of the unis, I never get an opportunity to go towards the Lord. I always get an opportunity to go away from the Lord. भगवान से दूर जान मतलब जो भी मेरे दूर की तो बात नहीं बट जो भी मेरे एक्शंस और उसके रिएक्शन है उसे सिर्फ इंजॉय करने का मौका मिलता है मुझे. आई गेट अ चांस टू जस्ट get the results of the actions that I have performed in the other species of life. Only in human life, I get an opportunity to go closer. Also get results to what I've done, but also along with that, make an attempt to go closer. As I go closer, it becomes beneficial for me. So every time that analysis we can do, whether I'm going close to Krishna or away from Krishna, by the actions that I'm performing. Yeah, every time you can keep this filter. Filter होता है ना filter. You can keep the filter on. ये अपने ब्रेन में आप हमेशा फिल्टर रख सकते हो. ये करूंगा तो भगवान से दूर जाऊंगा या भगवान से पास में आऊंगा. लोनावला में जाने में भगवान खुश हो गए या नहीं खुश हो गए. डिपेंड्स ऑन दैट. वृंदावन जाऊंगा तो इसमें आई गो क्लोजर टू लॉर्ड और अवे फ्रॉम द लॉर्ड. T20 मैच देखूंगा, कार्लोस 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 वर्सेस जॉर्ज जोकोविच देखूंगा तो भगवान खुश हो गए नहीं खुश हो गए. Yeah, that is duty bound. That's fine. But we have to just be careful. Prayas is, we don't have to over endeavor. Sometimes we over endeavor. Na? People keep gaining knowledge even at the age of 60, 70, 80, but they are absolutely zero at knowledge of self-realization. Then what is the use of the knowledge? You may be a PhD, you may be a scientist, but you don't know that you're not this body but self, spirit, soul.
One of the four characteristics of people who doesn't come to
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm saying. You may be a doctorate, you may be a PhD, you may be a scientist, but you don't know that you're not this body but spirit, soul. But a sweeper who is sweeping every day on the road, he knows मैं ये शरीर नहीं आत्मा हूँ, and he every day goes and does his pranam to the Lord, does his meditation, offers respects to the Lord, goes for a holy place. He's much more elevated than even that PhD. So your material qualifications, your material wealth, knowledge will not take you or will not become a substitute to your spiritual life. But if it's needed for your job, needed, that's fine. Either way, there is a training program, and you have to spend time in the training program for 2 days to brace up with the new amendments that have come in the or new things developments that have come in your job. It's fine. Then you cannot say no, this is nowhere close to my Krishna conscious. Then the boss will say, भैया तुम जाओ बाद में. Then also you should be ready to take up. हाँ ठीक है मैं वही जाना चाहता था जाता हूँ. It all depends on you as well. There is an opportunity at every step. It depends whether you want to take it or not. There's an opportunity at every step. That's the beauty of this human form of life, and that's the beauty of you at least taking birth in India, that we are aware about these things. Otherwise, it's like Haribol. It's like completely Haribol. So there's no hope. Any other questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So now with association and through lectures, we understand the importance of self-realization and also understand the importance of chanting. But as soon as we get back to a regular routine, our mind tends to forget all this. And as Krishna also says, the material energy of mind is very strong. Only the one can overcome it who has surrendered. Prabhu, how can we maintain that importance and how can we prepare our mind a night before so that we can give the importance chanting the morning and before chanting also what are the things that we can do?
Huh. One can prepare by abhyas. One can control mind by abhyas. Krishna says abhyas na to konte ya vairagya na to dhimata. So if you do abhyas, one can control one mind to not engage in uh, non-Krishna conscious activities, mundane activities. A night before you want to prepare, you can prepare in many ways. One is that when you sleep in the night, you take sleep only after reading something spiritual, like a Krishna book, or we have chat sessions. Immediately after that, you take a sleep. Not that after chat you spend time 1 hour on phone and then sleep. You know, so you sleep with a mind which is completely engaged in Krishna's thoughts. You have a struggle with getting up in the morning, tell somebody to wake you up. Be little, keep yourself away from being ashamed that सबको मेरा weakness पता चल जाएगा. So put yourself in that place that मुझे by default उठना पड़ेगा. And before chanting in the morning, you can always offer prayer. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramilitam Yena. You offer prayers to the previous acharyas. You offer prayer to Prabhupada that, my dear Prabhupada, you have given this process, you have formalized this process which was given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for us, that we can regulate our mind and practice Krishna consciousness. So you give me the strength. I'm trying to now sit and uh, uh, do japa. So please help me to focus my mind on chanting and hearing the names of Krishna. And we also make a prayer to Krishna. See, Krishna, or the Supreme Lord, he is any which ways. You come with a wish list sometimes to ask for many things. He has fulfilled those things also. Herein, though you are making an attempt to remember him, why will he not fulfill that? This is though by default he wants you to do, because he knows that you are struggling in this material world and he wants us to remember him. Then why he wouldn't arrange that facility? So we make a prayer to the Supreme Lord, we make a prayer to Radharani as well, and then start chanting his names. That gives us more strength because uh, we are actually making a sincere attempt to chant his name. And while chanting, when our mind really goes away, you bring it back to hearing it. That's more important. uh, Sit in a environment where you can chant together with devotees. If you are at home, then there are sometimes some morning japa sessions. You can join that, where you feel that people are sitting together with you and chanting. If that also you cannot join, then come to temple and chant. If that you cannot do, then we have a base, we have a center. You shift there and stay in the base and then learn how to practice. And we can open as many base as many people join. We don't have a dearth of that, provided people are ready to join in to learn this, to practice this. Not that hum recruit kar rahe hain, but to practice. If you want, if there are difficulties in something that you're doing at home, then suppose for example, if you're preparing for a course, an accounting course, if you're not able to prepare by yourself, you go to a coaching institute and take classes from there, right? Similarly, if you are want to practice spirituality and if you're facing any problems at home, you go to a place where they make you practice, right? It's the same. But there are many facilities. You need to discuss where your problem is, where is the pain point, where is the problem area, and then that solution can be discussed. Yeah, you can do that also. You can play Prabhupada chanting mantra also when you're chanting in the morning at a very low volume. There are many ways. It depends on what is the problem and the pain point. Problem kya hai? Pain point kya hai? Like sometimes you may have a big house, but still it is not very peaceful place to chant. That was a problem for me. Like there is a house, there is a place, but there is no peace of mind to chant. There is no motivation to chant. So let's put ourselves amongst the devotees where everybody watches me from the temple president to the temple commander to the vice president, and they all know me. And then you chant, sit in here and chant because they're seeing you. So you chant, right? You put yourself in a place where you then can chant nicely because we all face that issue. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, true.
वो मेरा मतलब क्वेश्चन ऐसा है कि अगर हम लोग रॉन्ग प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं लाइक हम लोग चैंटिंग मतलब अनअटेंटिव अटेंटिवली नहीं कर रहे हैं और हर चीज हम लोग मतलब थोड़ा थोड़ा रॉन्ग कर रहे हैं तो मतलब ऐसा हो सकता है क्या कि वो हमारी एक तरह से प्रैक्टिस हो जाएगी और फिर वो हमारे साथ रहेगी सी मैंने मतलब बहुत लोगों को चैंटिंग करते देखा है कि वो ना एकदम मतलब मंत्रा और काफी एज भी हो गई बट मतलब एकदम फ्लुएंटली बोलते हैं और जो बगल में होता है उसे कुछ भी समझ नहीं आता तो ऐसा हमारे साथ भी हो सकता है
No, so others का तो हम judge नहीं कर सकते because we don't know at what level that person is practicing. People also learn how to chant without even opening the mouth. Okay, कि मुंह खोले बिना भी कैसे chant कर सकते हैं भगवान का नाम ले सकते हैं. But that is a very high stage. With our selves, we can every time have it. We can every time when we feel that I'm not chanting properly, we can always record our chanting and see whether I'm chanting properly or not. तो हम एक पूरा राउंड एक पूरा जप 108 माला का एक रिकॉर्डर रख के हम रिकॉर्ड कर सकते हैं कि मेरा चैंटिंग कैसा साउंड कर रहा है फिर उसे सुन सकते हैं कि क्या मैं बराबर चैंटिंग कर रहा हूँ हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम whether I'm chanting properly or I'm just chanting Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 many times sometimes we get into that habit कि मुझे चैंट फटाफट करना है मेरे राउंड्स फटाफट मुझे कंप्लीट करना है तो आई मे नॉट से कृष्णा एंड से we make a sound we hear that sometimes people doing you hear that so we can record our chanting and hear that is the best thing that you can make an attempt or sometimes if you may realize that yeah I am constant analysis and examination needs to be there for us to improve our chanting. Even if like there are many japa seminars that are there, अक्सर होता है हमारे जू में भी. We should also attend that. ऐसा नहीं कि मैं जप कर रहा हूँ 10 साल से मुझे जपा सेमिनार की क्या जरूरत है यार 10 साल से कर रहा हूँ वही दिखाने वाले ना हरे कृष्ण एक ही मंत्र है. We should know how our quality of chanting is and our quality of chanting we will be able to judge also by the devotion that we are developing towards Krishna. So are we increasing? Are we have our taste for reading increased? Have our taste for doing any seva has increased? Have our taste for associating with devotees has increased? Are my anarthas like lust, anger, greed has reduced? Then the chanting is making an impact. And then my chanting is also going in the correct way. दैट इज अनदर वे टू ऑल्सो एनालाइज एक तो रिकॉर्ड करके चैंटिंग सुनना दूसरा कि मेरा जो 5 साल से जब कर रहा हूँ बट मेरे अंदर का जो गुस्सा है वो ऐसा ही है 5 साल से जब कर रहा हूँ मेरे अंदर का जो लस्ट है वो ऐसा ही है ग्रीड है वो ऐसा ही है यू नो 5 साल से जब कर रहा हूँ बट भक्तों के लिए मेरा कुछ अटैचमेंट डेवलप नहीं हुआ है जहाँ हूँ वही है वो है मैं हूँ डू वी रियली डेवलप अटैचमेंट टू डिवोटीज डू वी रियली डेवलप अटैचमेंट टू साधु संघ do we really take seriously that yes I should wear dhoti kurta put a tilak and go to temple is the consciousness will develop only when chanting is more is effective दवाई का असर हो रहा है तो आदमी भी तो सही होगा ना, मतलब उसका भी तो, उसमें भी रिफॉर्मेशन आएगा। आदमी में रिफॉर्मेशन नहीं आ रहा है मतलब दवाई का असर नहीं हो रहा है, मतलब आप दवाई ठीक से नहीं ले रहे हो। दवाई चेंज करने की जरूरत नहीं है, दवाई ठीक से नहीं ले रहे हो, दवाई तो बराबर है, क्योंकि दवाई का असर काफी लोगों पे हुआ है, कालों पे, गोरों पे, सब पे, डिफरेंट डिफरेंट जेंडर्स, एवरीबडी। सो दवाई चेंज करने की जरूरत नहीं, दवाई बराबर है एकदम। ओके, ठीक है। सो इज देयर एनी अदर क्वेश्चन और आई कैन जस्ट स्टॉप हियर? We have to prasad has come now. So we stop here and we will continue. There are two sections remaining. So we have A and D, attaining supreme, and we have devotion. These are again very important because attaining supreme is the major part of the eighth chapter. So we'll continue that next time. Hey Krishna. And those who wish to come to Vrindavan, please give your